a moment in his life.
Good morning, everybody. On this first day of summer, I'd like to call the Public Health Committee meeting. This first day of summer, June 21st, 2023.
Hello.
And I would like to have clerk call the roll.
Juby? Juby here. Silva? Here. Carver? Williams? Young?
Young here.
Sanchez?
Sanchez present.
Strathman?
Strathman here.
Tepe?
Tepe here.
You have a quorum in the room.
Okay, good morning. We do have the finance reports attached. Are there any questions? I'm sorry. Oh, yes, approval of the minutes. Thank you. Thank you. I'd like to have a motion and a second to approve the minutes from May 17th, 2023.
So moved.
Do I have a second? Okay, thank you. Judy and Silva, do we have any questions about the meetings? Any comments? Okay, now the finance budgets are attached. And now we have some guest speakers this morning, some public speakers. So I have first Dr. Sherry. I'm sorry, Sherry, I don't know your last name. Would you like to come? Bresnahan. Okay, thank you. And is this on agenda or off agenda?
Off.
Okay, then you have 3 minutes. Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning again. I am Dr. Sherry Bresnahan. Last month, I introduced you to one component of the vaccines, venoms. Another substance in the shots is graphene oxide. It is a superconductor. It can conduct electricity, which is why people that have received the injections can be scanned. That ability to be scanned shows you're vaccinated. It also lists a whole lot of personal data about you: your name, your date of birth, your address, your medical information, your exact GPS, what the person is doing by biofeedback, the frequency emitted from the person, and more when that scan comes up. Anyone with this particular app can go into a room, scan the occupants, and get all of this information. Now, introduced 5G. The cellular tower communication with graphene injected humans worldwide is a way to track the people with all their information attached to them. Also consider that along with the towers picking up transmissions, the towers can transmit signals pulsed out to these people from the towers. Suggests that if you want to eradicate graphene oxide in your body, take borax daily. The first COVID injury lawsuit in the United States targets the US government and social media giants. This lawsuit is suing the Biden administration and top US public officials. We have a litigious society. You are the Public Health Committee. Our foods now contain venoms. It is noted that there is an increasing frequency in patents related to animal venoms. Monsanto and other giant and biotechnology companies lead the list in the number of new patents in this area. A lab analysis of Monsanto's Roundup and Roundup Plus, the concentrated version, found scorpion venom, which is manufactured from bacteria, E. coli, around the world. A snake venom enzyme, which destroys or depletes your copper and zinc, king cobra, cone snail, conotoxin 10, Malayan crate venom are all found in Roundup assays. Shockingly, the venom biodiversity is actually recognized in agriculture and becoming increasing common. Roundup is sprayed around the world, irrigation and rain.
Thank you, Dr. Bresnahan.
Thank you.
Thank you.
These are all affidavits if anybody wants to see them.
And we have Roxanne Shoka. Good morning.
Good morning. What I'm here to talk about is a resolution that you passed last month. So it's not on topic, but it's illegal. So I think the least you can do is give me 5 minutes. I have another appointment. I can't stay, so I'll begin now. And I'm speaking today because I am just beyond shocked at the passing of the resolution 23-724, which says you are authorizing hiring communicable disease surveillance coordinator. It's not the hiring that I'm upset over, but the job description. I don't think you realize what you just did. You are actually hiring people to surveil Kane County residents without a warrant, no probable cause, not having committed a crime, but on the mere suspicion of being exposed to measles or any communicable disease. I also heard last week someone say that once tracked and questioned, if you aren't satisfied with their status, vaccine, I'm sure that's what you're talking about, that you would quarantine them. That is outrageous. You can't do that. I understand that according to your viewpoint, you think you're doing a good thing. However, the resolution you passed is unconstitutional, therefore illegal, and you have absolutely no authority to do any such thing. In our Constitution, the Fourth Amendment guarantees our right against unreasonable searches and seizures. In other words, you cannot invade a person's right to privacy, property, or liberty when a crime has not been committed. The U.S. Constitution is the supreme law of the land. Everything else has to agree with it. In fact, the Illinois State Constitution does. Section 6 of Article 1 is an almost verbatim of the Fourth Amendment. You cannot surveil someone and question them on the suspicion of being exposed to germs. You cannot quarantine someone because you disagree with their personal health decisions. This is an egregious bureaucratic overreach, and you must repeal this unlawful resolution. Again, I assume you think that you are protecting people and promoting good health. And yes, according to the Illinois Constitution, Section 6, subset A, you do have the authority to, quote, regulate for the protection of public health, safety, morals, and welfare, but in a general way. You can stop the chemtrails that are polluting our air, land, and water. You can promote a healthy lifestyle, educate the public on both sides of an issue, such as vaccines, so that there is true informed consent. But you cross the line when you use the power of government to try and force individuals to take specific medical intervention that violates their conscience or face the choice of being quarantined. First of all, it's not the government's job to protect my health. That's my responsibility. Secondly, we live in a world filled with germs and viruses and are exposed to them every day. That's life. It's our immune system that protects us, not living in a bubble or being quarantined. Realize that many people in Kane County have a different point of view, and they believe that you cannot medicate or vaccinate your way to good health. So what you choose to do for your health is a personal and private decision, and you must allow for differing opinions. That's why you need to be a resource for all residents of Kane County and not force one particular view. I don't think you realize just how offensive that resolution is for those who don't share your viewpoint. To put this in perspective, let's turn the tables. Imagine that you passed a resolution to hire a contact tracer to make sure that everyone ate an apple a day. It had to be organic, non-GMO. You couldn't peel it or make it into applesauce. And if someone didn't eat their apple, you would contact trace them and force them to be quarantined if they didn't. They would have to prove that they're not sick before going out into public.
Ms. Shelko, that's your time. Thank you.
I'm going to be finishing up. As silly as that sounds, this is exactly what you proposed and passed. We are headed down a slippery slope to a nanny state where our lives are micromanaged. So before you pass any more resolutions, I suggest you ask 3 questions. 1, is this constitutional? Are we trampling on the liberties of Kane County residents? 2, is this absolutely necessary? Will harm come if we don't? And 3, if necessary, could these additional services be performed by existing staff and other departments?
Shelka,
So
Shelka,
I
you've had your
suggest
time.
that you educate yourself
Good.
on other options and be a resource, not a big pharma enforcer. And in closing, if you are interested in learning from a different perspective, I would be happy to have a doctor make a presentation and educate this committee
Shelka,
on what
please.
many believe
We
is
are all
true
following the rules here.
healthcare.
Please take a
Thank
seat.
you.
And now we have Brett Youngstead with Animal Control this morning. Anything you want to share with us?
Hello, everyone. Good morning. All my reports are on file. We do have vaccine clinic stuff to cover real quick. I'm sorry. Our last 3 dates have been posted. We're looking at Saturday, August 5th, Wednesday, September 13th, and Saturday, October 28th. Just wanted to share halfway through already, we've completed our first 3. We've already done 211 dog vaccines. 87 of those were for seniors. 49 cat vaccines, 24 of those were for seniors, and we've already done 50 microchips. This is very successful. We're very happy. People have been very pleased with what we continue to do. Great comments from all the people we meet, talk to, that come to the clinics every year, and we're continuing to find new ways. We got it into the libraries in Carpentersville, Sugar Grove, Huntley, and I'm missing one, and I apologize for not having it in front of me. But we're trying a different route to hit some of the more public places to get it to the people that need to see this resource, because it's such a great event. And especially with cost of veterinary costs rising, we want to make sure that people are able to keep their pets legal and can do the right thing by their animal with this great event. That's all I had this month. If anybody has anything for me.
Thank you. Any questions for our fabulous King County Animal Control people? Yes,
So
Ms. Shuby?
is it a drive-through clinic? Like, do the dogs and cats stay in the car or do they actually have to bring them out?
The people stay in the car. So
Okay.
they literally drive through. We do all the
Then
work.
you
We'll
take-
come to the car, get the animal, do the payment, do everything right there.
Okay.
Take the animal inside. And the reason we bring it in is we don't want any escaped animals or anybody getting loose.
Right.
So that's just a safety aspect, but we have little carts for the kitty cats to go in, the dogs. We do occasionally have the scared animal. In which case the owners have come in with those, but for the most part, it's pretty much drive through. You don't need to do a thing. We take care of everything for you.
Great. Do you think that's why you have a high number of seniors that can come through? Because sometimes it's hard for them to get their dogs and cats into a regular clinic for shots.
Correct.
so-
We hope that's the reason.
Okay.
We try to make it as easy as possible on people that really all you have to do is kind of load them up the first time and take them back
Okay.
inside. We really want to make it that easy. And part of when you were getting out of the vehicle, we had some animals that were interacting that shouldn't have.
Yeah, I understand that.
And it led to some issues. I mean, we had staff roaming to make sure it didn't happen.
Right.
But this has made it a lot safer, easier on people. They remain seated. No one has to stand or walk or have to get around. So any mobility issues are eliminated, and that makes it very
And
easy
do
for
you
people.
say that at all in when you promote it? Because I think that might be something that would help if people knew they didn't have to leave their cars.
Could emphasize that more, and that's a really good point, and that is something we'll look into because we're looking to do a Facebook blast
Okay.
to all of Kane County for the remaining 3 clinics starting in July. So we'll look to see if we can get that added in because
Okay.
I didn't think of it that way, and that's a very good point.
No, okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Sir, I'm sorry, our public comment section is over for the day. You need to sign up on when you get here, or I'm sorry, we're done with that. We did have a sign up sheet before we started, so we've moved on from public comment. You can come next month and I'll be happy to hear your comments. So now we move on to Mr. Isaacson.
Great. Good morning, everyone. Nice to see you. Really want to focus today on some work that we're doing around opioids. So as you're aware, we were one of 5 health departments in the United States who was selected to participate in a project where we're looking at embedding peers into emergency departments. So this is a highly effective intervention. A peer is somebody who has lived experience. So they themselves are in recovery. Different organizations, depending on who's doing the hiring, they may have a different definition. Some people require 5 years in recovery. Some people require 2 years. But we're working with all 5 of our hospitals, looking at this model to see when somebody comes to the emergency room for any reason, if we identify that they may potentially have a substance use disorder, can we connect them with this peer? And then that peer is somebody that can help them, hopefully encourage them to get into treatment. So this is a harm reduction strategy. It's getting them to speak with somebody in addition to the social workers, in addition to the clinicians. So I just wanted to highlight this today because yesterday we spent the full day over at Del Nor Hospital. We had our technical assistance team from Maryland, who's part of this grant, was in town. We met with the Del Nor team all morning talking about changes that may be possible in the emergency room there so that we can make peers available, which is really exciting. Talked about, for me at the county level, how can we collect data that better informs our decision-making, better informs where we put resources. At noon, we met with all of our hospitals to talk about how we collectively are doing this work together. And again, having this person, our technical assistance person, they have a program where they have implemented this in over 75 hospitals around the country. So a lot of questions we have, they've seen in other places. So it was really valuable to be able to dig in and have that dialogue. Then at 2:00 yesterday, we had a meeting with all of our providers. I shouldn't say all, that's pretty all encompassing, but with a lot of our providers where we talked about, okay, when people come into the emergency room, what are the barriers we have to getting them into your services? So what can you do differently? What can the hospital do differently? So we had really productive conversation. And for all of this, we want to identify the gaps. So it's not about being critical of how anybody is doing anything. It's really just looking at what's happening, where are people falling through the cracks, and where are we having more or less luck. So we're really excited after the conversations yesterday to move things forward. Also, as part of this grant, we had the opportunity to send 2 people to Maryland next week to go and tour some hospitals. I love crab cakes, but I gave up my seat to hospital staff. So we have the head of behavioral health for Northwestern for this region and the head of behavioral health for the Ascension Health System. They're going, so they represent 3 of our 5 hospitals. So we're hoping that when they go and really are eyes on to tour multiple hospitals where this is fully implemented, that they're going to have some good feedback when they come back. So this is really an exciting project. And I think especially for newer folks, when we look at the health department being a small health department for the size of our community, the type of population level work we do, this is a good example of it. We bring people together, we talk about what the issues are, we look at the data, and with this grant, it's a $300,000 grant. It's only 1 year, but already we're getting substantial change from people and getting the hospitals lined up where they're interested in being able to support these things on an ongoing basis. So just that little seed, that little catalyst, we're seeing some tremendous outcomes. So just want to open up if there's any questions about that project. If any of you are interested in learning more or joining any of our meetings, you're more than welcome. Just as a reminder, we do have a Kane County Opioid Task Force that meets every other month. And we also have a Behavioral Health Council that meets. We've had the discussion, do we need both? But really the opioid issue is some of the interventions are so specific that the participants even though they may be some of the same people who joined the Behavioral Health Council, have said, yes, we need to have this separate forum where we can talk about specific interventions around opioids. Because of course, as we've talked about a lot here with fentanyl, it's just really scary. And I do want to just make sure that everybody knows that the health department does have free naloxone that we get from the state. So if anybody is interested, we can provide that. We can provide the training. We have a training up on our YouTube channel. If anybody'd like to view it, we're happy to work with any organizations to get their staff trained. So it's unfortunate, but just like AEDs, we need naloxone to be everywhere, and we want people to be comfortable using it. So anything we can do to help spread the word about that and actually make naloxone more available, or also the brand name is Narcan, depending on what you want to call it. So, but we're happy to provide training to any groups that want it. Any questions?
for Mr. Isaacson? Yes, Ms. Bates?
I'd like to thank you for bringing Narcan to the Aurora Green Fest. People were so impressed by that. So thank you for spreading the word and the cure.
Any other questions about
Yeah.
the opioid? Yes, Mr. Young?
It's not with the opioid, but Mr. Young here, Roxanne had spoken about that that individual doing the contract tracing, and I would like for you to, could you speak about that, or
Sure.
do you want to speak about it next time? I just want to know if you.
No,
had a
I
reaction to
think
that.
just a quick word, the term surveillance is a public health word that means that we're tracking diseases on an ongoing basis. We're looking at disease states. It's different than how the FBI does surveillance, how the police do surveillance. It is a specific defined word in public health that means something different. And I think in your public health 101, your epidemiology 101 classes, that's something that's probably going to be on a test, is what does surveillance mean? So, I think some of the comments, that's not necessarily what public health surveillance is. And it's kind of a balancing act, because we do get our authority from the US Constitution. Then we get our guidance from the CDC here in the state of Illinois. We get our authorities for quarantine and isolation from the state of Illinois that's delegated to us, but that's not something that we actually do a lot. So I appreciate the comments, but that's not the intent of this role, is that we're going to be going around quarantining people. And I think one difference, just in terms of the Apple analogy, the Apple analogy to me as a public health person is more akin to requiring seatbelts and requiring people riding motorcycles to wear helmets. That's to protect you, right? Apple a day, if that were a thing, that would be to protect you. What we're looking at with infectious diseases, it isn't to protect you. It's the other people around you, that if you have a disease that you may spread, that you may kill someone else. And so that's where, in the rare cases that something like that happens, that's why quarantine exists in this country. It's why it's always existed in this country. It's why it existed before the United States was founded. When we were colonies, they had quarantine, because this is something that we do as humans. When we know somebody has a disease that could kill other people, we keep that person separate for the appropriate time. But it's very rare. And I don't know, Director Onwuda is a trained epidemiologist. Maybe there's something else she wants to add.
Thank you, Director Isaacson. I agree with everything you said so far. If we didn't track diseases, if we didn't care who had a disease, we'll all be dead. I think as a public health worker, if I didn't advise the county board that we have cases of salmonella, we have a restaurant serving food that is bad, and people are contracting salmonella or norovirus or whatever it is. If we didn't do that, this county will not be existing. So this is what we do on a regular basis. What diseases are out there? How much of it is out there? Is it higher or lower than normal? Why is it happening? Is it because somebody ate a bad fruit? They didn't refrigerate their food, or is it something in the ground? that is the investigation that we do. And as Director Isaacson said, it's very different from the investigation that the FBI does or the police or whoever else. And, we have the statute behind us, for everything that we do. We're not breaking the law.
Okay, I'll have to look at the law where it says you could lock down and quarantine people. I don't know. I have to look at that. I don't know
We
what
can
it is.
provide that for you, but again, it's not something that happens very often.
And I just think it was Roxanne's, that was her fear of the overreach
role.
happening.
You-
And speaking to, I'm sorry, I have one other question. So you had mentioned that we should be tracking people as if they have diseases coming into our county, we should know that. But what about our southern border is wide open, right? We're not testing any of those people that are coming through the border for any diseases. So yes, they're in Kane County. How are we gonna, how are you gonna handle that? I mean, you've heard about in Cook County in Chicago, they're housing like an old high school or something. They're housing a whole bunch of people that came through illegally and they're holding them in there. I mean, those people might have diseases that
Sure.
we shouldn't be letting into our country. So, I mean, how do you handle that?
Point of personal privilege, sir. Those people did not come here illegally. They're seeking refuge. So that's a difference that you should state. Thank you.
I will not state that.
So if people are seeking asylum, there is actually health screening that does occur. I think it's probably beyond the purview of a local health department to comment on border security. But in terms of anybody in our community, we're looking when we get results about any infectious disease, and we have a list of infectious diseases in the state of Illinois that require specific actions. And depending on what the person does, so Ms. Onwuda named a couple of diseases. If somebody's a food service worker, for example, we may intervene differently if they have a disease where they could be spreading it with the food, as opposed to, yeah, I work from home or I have an office job where I'm not touching other people's food. If you're touching other people's food, we're going to have you stop that, and we may have you do different work while you're contagious, right? So it depends on what the disease is. That's for anybody. And for us, people travel a lot. I think that is one comment that was made. There are a lot of bacteria and viruses and things around all the time. So that's why surveillance is so important, because we need to be aware of what's happening in the community. We need to see when certain things are occurring more frequently, which means it may be more dangerous for our residents. So we are looking at that. And it's not so much about tracking people. It's not that at all. It's about how can we keep an eye on what's happening with the diseases? So that's more important, a more important point.
But you track the disease by tracking people. I mean, that's just how you do it. That's how you have to do it.
Yeah, it's semantics. I think it's tracking people. We're not following people around. We're not monitoring what their everyday movements are. We're looking at cases of disease that come up. And if somebody is in an infectious period, depending again on what the disease is, there's many diseases that can be spread to other people that we don't quarantine people for, but we're going to give them the education. We're going to tell them what the risks are to other people around them so that they can hopefully take protective action. But a lot of times the responsibility is still on the person.
I would just like to also remind you that the name of this committee is the Public Health Committee. We do not focus just on disease, but with all the programs that the Public Health Department offers, it also says we're focusing on the health of the people of King County. We have programs for new babies, and we have programs for seniors. We have a lot of, so it's not just disease, although we are for the good of the community, keeping track of those things. But we also are a public health department. So with that, I'd like to move on. Mr. Isaacson, you have some more to say to us this morning?
I think we can move on to the resolutions if you like.
Okay, you want to start with the first one?
Absolutely. So this is an exciting opportunity. Unfortunately, as you look at the text here, it's been a very tough time for the public health workforce over the last several years. And over especially the pandemic, we have seen that many people have been threatened around the country. Many people have left the public health field. Even prior to the pandemic, we were seeing that health departments around the country were getting smaller as funding decreased. One thing, just as a specific example here in Illinois, we kind of had that, what I would call that brain drain, where we were losing to early retirement and things like that. A lot of people with decades of experience, which hurts overall. So we may have the same number of people somewhere, but we have a lot less experience in those places. So this grant is really looking at how can we strengthen the workforce for public health in Illinois. So it's exciting because it is a multi-year grant. And it's funding to come in to help us with training, with recruiting, with retention. We're just going to be submitting the application for this here next week, but would like to put it forward to you. So this is just resources coming into Kane County to support our public health workforce from the state. Happy to answer any questions about it.
So I'd like a motion and a second and then possible discussion of resolution 23-858.
Silva seconds.
Please, Silva moves. Do I have a second?
Sanchez seconds.
Sanchez seconds. Thank you. Okay, any discussion? Okay,
Madam Chair,
yes, Mr. Tepe.
thank you. Mr. Isaacson, I'd like to congratulate you and your staff and your personnel for pursuing grants like this. And these are the kinds of things that make life easier and better for the board. So the more money you can procure by this, the less we have to give you in the rest of your budget.
Yes, right. Well, hopefully you don't view it that way, but yes, thank you. Thank you. We are actively seeking money from all kinds of places, including the board. So
Yeah.
yes,
For that work too. Okay, clerk call the roll.
Doobie,
Aye.
Silva,
Silva, yes.
Tarver, Williams, Young,
Young, yes.
Sanchez,
Sanchez, yes.
Strathman,
Strathman, yes.
passes.
Okay, now I would like a second and a motion and a second for possible discussion on resolution -23-862.
Sanchez moves.
Sanchez moves,
Juby second.
Juby seconds. Michael,
so I'm not sure how deep into the weeds you all want to get on our community health assessment process. So I'm going to start at a very high level today. We'd like you to all be involved in this process. But again, I'm going to keep it lighter and err on the side of keeping it high level. But we want your engagement so we can provide as much detail going forward as you'd like. So background on this, as a certified health department in the state of Illinois, we are required to do a comprehensive health assessment every 5 years. 15 years ago, 16 years ago, something like that, we partnered up with our hospitals because it's pretty expensive to do something like this. We partnered up with our 5 hospitals in Kane County because IRS requirements require them to do this assessment every 3 years. So we got together and we pooled resources with them because they were also paying to do this assessment. And we also have the Mental Health Funding Alliance, the 708 board in Southern Kane County, who's a funding partner. And now every 3 years, we all work together, we all pool resources, and we do one comprehensive community health assessment for our community. So what we've done so far is we worked with the purchasing department. We collected applications from organizations who would be able to provide the services that we need to do this so that they can really identify what's happening in the community, look at collecting new data through surveys, through focus groups, also have the ability to look at existing data, what we call secondary data, that they would be able to analyze and bring in so that they could help us with a process where then we could get people together, including the elected officials, to really vote after reviewing all of that information to prioritize what are our biggest issues. So after we went out to bid, what we call Kane Health Counts, which is the funders consortium. We also have our Kane Health Counts data website if people would like to look at that. But we reviewed all the applications, and the organization that we selected was Metopio as being the best value and providing the best services to be able to help us. This is an Illinois-based company. They have done some work with Chicago and Cook County that is pretty exciting. One area that we really wanted to make sure that we were properly addressing is making sure that we had good representation across the community. So that means geographically, that means by race and ethnicity. So this group does have good experience in that. So what this resolution is allowing us to enter into a contract. The total cost, as you can see, is $100,000, $847. And that cost is actually going to be split into 7. And the 6 other funding partners will actually pay the health department for their portion. And then we would just be on for the 1/7 of the cost. But the health department is who maintains the contract. And then in terms of future, and we've given big presentations on this, and I worry maybe we got too into the details on our process and things like that. But again, we love this stuff. So if you want to hear more about it, or whether it's at committee or whether you just want to hook up with us and learn more, we're happy to share all of that. But some of it, kind of how the sausage is made, I'll leave that up to you in terms of how deep you want to get into it. And I did see Mr. Avalar's on the phone, which reminds me, as we've been talking with Commissioner Sanchez over the past 6 months or so. We're also keenly interested in how we can support our community members who may be making funding decisions as well, specifically including like our 708 board. So I already mentioned in Southern Kane County, the Alliance is a funding partner for this. We have our 2 newer 708 boards in Elgin and Dundee. So we want this assessment and these resources to really be able to dig in so that people at the local level have more information. So it's not only helping us set our priorities, but it's also helping people at the local level to make better decisions too, or more informed decisions.
Dr.
Yeah.
Silva?
So I would like to congratulate you, Director, and also Director Onwood, on your staff, and along the lines of what you're speaking. I had the opportunity to visit with the African American Health Fair, and it was nice to see how engaging our staff is and how we're out there in the community. So these types of things really give us the resources to come out and meet folks where they're at, where they're needed, where they trust the environment, because as we know, there's been a lot of injury in the past. So this is exactly why I'm so much in favor of this.
Great.
Thank you.
I, for one, would love to have you do a presentation. I think
Great.
this is kind of the meat of what the public health can do. And I think it would show people exactly what our focus is, why we gather the data that we do and what we're doing with that data. I would love to have you, when the time is right, you can let us know and have that presentation.
Very good. Well, we'll keep you informed through the whole process. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Ms.
is
Payne.
this the same thing as the health needs assessment?
It is, yes. So we, in public health, we call it a community health assessment. Shorthand, we call it the CHA. The information from the CHA leads to the community health improvement plan, which we call the CHIP. If you're at a hospital, they call it a community health needs assessment. That's what the IRS calls it. Sometimes they call it a China. So
So it sounds.
we
like
all
a
have our
alphabet
wonky
soup.
language we use. Yeah. But yes, they're all the same
All right,
thing.
good. Any other questions? Okay, would you like to read the resolution for us or?
Oh, sure. So whereas formal community health needs assessments, prioritization and action planning are required of certified local health departments in the state of Illinois every 5 years. And it lists the code there. And are further recognized as part of the essential services of local public health departments by national public health authorities, such as the Public Health Accreditation Board. And whereas the Kane County Health Department has fulfilled the obligation since its inception of the Illinois requirements in 1994. And whereas the 5 hospitals located in Kane County, which include Advocate Aurora Sherman, Ascension Mercy, Ascension St. Joseph, Northwestern Delnor, and Rush Copley, as well as the Inc. Mental Health Alliance, have expressed their mutual interest in working collaboratively with the Kane County Health Department as part of the Kane Health Counts Collaborative to better identify and understand the health-related community assets, needs, and priorities of Kane County residents in the most comprehensive way possible by conducting 4 community health assessments known as MAP, mobilizing for action through planning and partnership. Just a side note, that's our process that we use. It's kind of a national one, so I can get into more detail on that if you like. And whereas a competitive request for proposals was developed and released through the Kane County Purchasing Department, and whereas Metopio was selected through this competitive process to conduct the community health assessment, completion of the process will provide a comprehensive view of health as well as data to fuel our planning process. Outcomes of the health assessment will yield priority health issues and support content for the Community Health Improvement Plan, CHIP. And whereas the total cost to contract with Metopio for completion of the community health assessment is $100,847. And whereas Kane County Health Department asking its fiscal agent will receive funding from the Kane Health Counts funding partners to offset approximately 85% or $85,000 of this total. And can I get the next page, please? Thank you, sir. Now, therefore, let it be resolved, Kane County Board be and hereby is authorized to enter into a contract with Metopio for the total of $100,847 to serve as a vendor for the 2023 Community Health Assessment.
Thank you. Hey, clerk call the roll.
Juby,
Juby, I.
Silva,
Silva, yes.
Tarver, Williams, Young,
Young, yes.
Sanchez,
Sanchez, yes.
Strathman,
Strathman, yes,
passes.
passes. Okay. We put you back to work when you're coming back.
Yes, yeah, it's excellent. And we have made some promotions and hires, so we have a lot of exciting things going on. And one thing that I want to get back into is where we will bring a program each month to give 5 or 10 minute highlights so you can see the staff who are actually doing the hard work so that they can be recognized, but also so you can hear directly from the people doing it. So for future meetings, that's something we'll be doing. So
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you. Okay, is there any old business? Okay, and I'd like to have a vote to place the reports on file.
Sanchez asked for unanimous consent to place reports on file.
Okay. Okay, I don't think we have a need for executive session. Any new business? Yes, Mr. Young.
Young here. I have 2 new items. The first is a patent that I want to make sure everyone is aware of, and the second is a resolution. So the first is a patent, and I just want to read a portion of the abstract of the patent. System and methods for anonymously selecting subjects for treatment against an infectious disease caused by a pathogen. The system comprises a plurality of electronic devices comprising instructions to generate an ID, and when in proximity of another such electronic device, one or both electronic devices transmit and receive the ID to and from the other electronic device. Then a score is generated based upon a plurality of such received IDs. And I'll stop there. This is a patent that was awarded on August 30th, 2021. And and I'll send this to everyone on the committee. It is in the end, the patent means you receive information about a subject that's got a specific ID. So that means your phone, let's say it's your phone. So you get a certain ID from your phone. Let's call it an app. So you have an app on the phone and it gets uploaded when it's near a cell tower. That information is transmitted to that cell tower. That information is analyzed, a score is generated, and then sent back to you. And then it's also looks at other people around you, the electronic devices, and generates a score for them. In the end, it goes back to what a couple of people talked about here in the meeting, the beginning of the meeting, where essentially they're tracking individuals and actually generating a score based upon their vaccine status. And then they will go ahead.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
I didn't hear anything. You're going to send us the complete information?
Yeah, I'm going to send you I'll send you the patent along with my notes that I created.
So just let me ask a quick question. Does it specifically say the vaccination in the patent information? Because I'm not hearing vaccine in what you're saying.
Let me reclaim one. Well, there's several claims to this patents. When you look at a patent, you know, it has the abstract and then there are the claims that they're patenting. In this case, there's like 38 claims. And
So rather than reading them all to us, you'll
no,
send us all.
I'm going to send you, but the bottom line is that the claims specifically mention coronavirus as a something
That's what
that,
I didn't know.
right. And that's something that they're tracking. And so this was a patent that was awarded in August of 2021. And has anybody ever tried to get a patent before around here? Do you guys know what the process is?
Oh, I had 2 patents.
Yeah, 2 patents. Okay, so you have to first go through a provisional patent, and then you have a year to go ahead and submit your real patent. So the whole process from the time you submit a provisional patent to the time you receive a patent, it's at least 2 years, sometimes 3 years. So this patent was awarded in 2021. That means they started this information, or they started the patent process in 2019, which was before the pandemic, which was kind of strange for me. Now, guess who is the patent holder for this? I'm going to ask Jared.
Monsanto.
Pfizer.
Actually, that's not true. I just fact checked it right now. That is not true.
It is true.
I'm not going to argue with you. I'm just telling you that Reuters, who I do not consider a bastion of liberal ideas, has said that it is not. It is going around.
Juby, would you please pull your mic closer, please?
I'm sorry. It says a claim on social media misidentifies a U.S. patent for contact tracing device capable of connecting individuals to the internet as being evidenced in the COVID-19 vaccines that are tracking people. The patent, however, is not owned by Pfizer, and the document makes no mention of the connection or tracking of individuals via technology that stems from COVID-19 inoculations. I think what you're talking about is what advertisers use to track people so they can give targeted advertising every time you use your phone, go on social media, every magazine subscription you buy, which is why anytime you go on, they're all of a sudden flooding you with things that maybe you researched or maybe you did a Google search on. That is what you're talking about. I am not going to argue with you, but that I cannot let you announce that that's the truth, because it is not the truth. You can send us all the documents, that's fine. And every document you send me, I will find a fact checker who is not liberal.
Okay, I'll send it. I just wanted to bring this to everyone's attention. I'll send it to you guys. So it's there. It's a patent. So I'll send it. No problem.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Ms. Bates.
there are millions of patents and they never get used. They are not a threat to anybody. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. It was interesting that it was actually the speakers spoke about this, and then all of us, I was going to speak about this anyway, but they were speaking about it too. So I thought that was interesting.
You had another thing you wanted to bring on new business?
I did. And I had drafted a resolution that I was hoping could come up on the agenda. And me and Madam Chair had a very civil conversation, I'd say, about the resolution, and it was decided by her because it is her prerogative to not have this on the agenda. I wanted to let everyone know that I did write this resolution. It was reviewed by the state's attorney's office and edited, and so I had a clean copy that was sent. The resolution is requesting that the Kane County Health Department updates information about mRNA vaccines with studies regarding the risks associated with those vaccines. And in the end, you know, we have talked about, the people have talked about it here. I sent information about the risk of myocarditis that's associated with the vaccines. I had sent over an article to everyone about the Journal of American Medical Association, where it shows that the conclusion was that there is a risk of myocarditis, especially in young men. And what I'm asking for is to put this on the agenda for next month so that we could just have a discussion about this. It would be nice to have information placed on the Kane County Health website where people could make, they can make a decision. I'm not voting, I'm not saying that I'm against vaccines. I'm just saying that there should be an alternative opinion against them. So therefore, I would like to make a motion that this resolution be placed on the agenda for next meeting in July.
I don't think we could make a motion on new business. Is that correct? We cannot make a resolution or make a motion on new business?
Yeah, if you can make a motion, you can take final action on it. Shapiro.
I'm sorry, could you say that again, Mr. Shepro?
Yes, I mean, you can make a motion, but it can't be finally acted on if it's not an agenda item.
Right, but if I wanted to put something on the agenda for next month, could that motion be made and
Yes,
seconded?
yes.
Okay,
And then roll call vote?
then we call a vote.
A voice vote or.
There,
roll call
there is
vote.
no second yet.
There's no second.
I'll second it.
Okay,
So, but we can't vote on it because it was not on the agenda. Is
You
that
can-
correct?
No, it's just procedural. You can't take final action to pass it, but you can place something on the agenda. As I understand it, this was a motion to place on the agenda,
correct.
not a motion to pass.
Okay. So we can vote on it then?
You can vote on it. You can take either a roll call or a voice vote. If, you know.
Okay, is there any discussion on it before we take a roll call?
I would like to make a comment, Madam Chair.
Dr. Silva?
As I spoke with you yesterday and I mentioned that I can follow trains of thought. And out of respect for everyone who has maybe different opinions from what I have, or I think everybody's opinion is equally important. And you and I had a lengthy conversation on that. I would be inclined to continue this conversation. But one thing that I think is very important is that we base our conversations on facts and with kindness and respect to what's going on in the world, what's affecting us here in Kane County, but also what's going on in other parts of the world, because there are human beings in other parts of the world. And also with respect to each other, where we have a certain protocol, if there's 5 minutes to speak or 3, where Madam Chair, I would ask that that we give Madam Chair the respect that she deserves. And if she, stops the conversation, you've been given your time, I would just ask that, that we follow protocol, because we cannot continue this conversation in an intelligent, fruitful way for the residents of Kane County if we push boundaries and are void of those other factors I spoke about. So I'm not against this conversation. I think I can follow trains of thought. I can understand why some people feel the way they do. I'm not saying I am against the vaccine, because again, I will mention I decided to take it myself. But I feel that it's important to listen to various points of view, and that's how we come to a conclusion for the benefit of Kane County. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other?
Yeah.
Yes, Mr. Young?
Mr. Young, I just have a couple of, before we go on the vote. I mean, there's just so much information coming out. I mean, the lady mentioned there's a lawsuit now against the government for, these vaccines that just came out a month ago. To your point, we're not talking about being in opposition to any vaccine or really anything. It's just having a different opinion and bringing forth some things that have been documented in in various publications about the adverse effects of these vaccines. So having a discussion about this and moving this forward is really all I would would want to have, and that would be discussed next July or next month, if it goes through. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Ms. Bates?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Dr. Silva, for your very kind and compassionate comments about appreciating everybody's opinion. And that is very important, of course. And yet we are the Kane County Board. We are the Kane County Health Department Committee. We must strive to reduce and eliminate and really stamp out misinformation and disinformation that may be spread by well-intentioned people who read things off the internet that are not vetted, that are not true, that have been disproven by many authorities, or disinformation which is being spread purposefully to confuse people. It's our responsibility to, not all opinions were created equal. I'm sorry to say, people are created equal, opinions are not. And it's our responsibility to stand up to misinformation and disinformation when it happens.
Thank you, Ms. Bates. Anybody else? Well, before we take a vote, I would just like to say that Mr. Young and I did have a conversation. And the reason I did not choose to put this on the agenda is because I believe the pandemic is behind us. COVID is not gone, but the pandemic is behind us. And we're moving on to opioid, and we're looking forward to mental health focus, and now the community health assessment. And as things develop, I don't think it's I think it's a job of the community health group, public health group, to look forward, to, to plan. And I'd just like to say that part of what public health is based on is epidemiology. And the definition of that is the branch of medicine which deals with the incidence, distribution, and possible control of diseases and other factors relating to health. And I think we're kind of forgetting that of the health focus on this with this committee. We have a lot of wonderful programs that we're putting forth, and we're supporting, and we're working to make even better with all our collaboration with the other health providers in the county. So, and then it's also a method used to find the cause of health outcomes and diseases in population. So we're really focusing on health is what we're doing. And that was why I chose not to put it on the agenda, because I think we have moved beyond it. But I'm open to always open to good discussion. I would never want to not have a discussion about anything. I think it's important, and I think we can, when we think we can't learn from each other, I think that's when we get in trouble. So I think if you'd like to take a voice vote on this, all those in favor of putting this on the agenda for July, say aye.
Ma'am, I'd like a roll call vote, please.
I'm sorry.
I would like a roll call vote, please.
Okay, all right, we can do a roll call vote. Clerk, please take roll call.
Juby,
I respectfully have to vote no.
Silva,
Present.
Tarver, Williams, Young,
Yes.
Sanchez,
Yes.
Strathman,
No.
It's a tie. No. Never happened. What happened?
Was the,
It fails if it's a
what was
tie.
the vote?
We have 2 yeses, 2 nos, and 1 present.
Motion fails.
Motion fails. Okay. But that does not preclude discussion, always good discussion. So thank you for bringing that. to
Okay,
us.
you're welcome. I'll keep on bringing it up to the committee.
Open discussion, that's what it is, right?
Mhm.
Okay, thank you. So I guess I would like to entertain a motion to adjourn.
Sanchez moves.
Sanchez moves.
Second.
Mr. Young seconds. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed?
Hey, on time.